In 1637, a single flower bulb in Holland was worth more than a family home. Not gold, not land, not a business, a flower, a tulip. This wasn't beauty, it wasn't culture, and it definitely wasn't rational. It was the moment when money detached from reality and belief replaced value. Most people think financial bubbles are a modern invention, born on stock exchanges, fueled by computers, algorithms, and social media hype. But the first great financial bubble in recorded history didn't happen on a screen. It bloomed quietly, in candlelit rooms, on handwritten contracts, over wine-stained tables in the Dutch Republic. Welcome to Time and Money Tales, where money, power, and history collide, and nothing is ever as simple as it looks. In the early 1600s, the Netherlands was the richest place on earth. A small country with no king, no vast natural resources, no empire built by conquest. Instead, it had ships. Dutch merchants dominated global trade. Spices from Asia, silver from the Americas, textiles, timber, grain, sugar. Amsterdam became the heart of Europe, the world's first stock exchange, the world's first multinational corporation, the world's most sophisticated credit system. Money was everywhere, and for the first time in history, ordinary people had access to it. Merchants, craftsmen, shopkeepers, even laborers. This was new, and new money always searches for opportunity. That opportunity arrived in the form of a flower. Tulips were not native to Europe. They came from the Ottoman Empire, exotic, rare, and unlike anything Europeans had seen before. Some bloomed in solid colors. Others developed dramatic streaks and flames caused by a virus no one understood. These broken tulips were unpredictable, uncontrollable, and therefore priceless. Owning a rare tulip wasn't about gardening. It was about status. At first, only wealthy collectors bought them, then rich merchants, then professionals, then anyone who didn't want to be left behind. Prices rose slowly at first, then faster, then violently. And that's when the tulip stopped being a flower. It became an asset. People didn't trade tulips anymore. They traded promises. Contracts written months before harvest. Agreements to buy bulbs that were still underground. This was futures trading, centuries before modern finance named it. No money changed hands up front. Just signatures. Just belief. You could control enormous value with almost nothing, and leverage is intoxicating. A skilled artisan could make more money trading tulip contracts in a week than working his trade for a year. A single rare bulb could be exchanged for land, furniture, livestock, barrels of wine, silver coins, fine clothing. One tulip could buy a canal house in Amsterdam. Another was worth 10 years of wages for a skilled worker. And still people said, it will go higher. Here's the most important part of this story. No one thought they were insane. They thought they were early. Every rising price felt like confirmation. Every new buyer felt like proof. Every success story drowned out doubt. And doubt became dangerous. If you questioned tulip prices, you weren't cautious, you were foolish. If you didn't participate, you weren't responsible, you were missing out. This is how bubbles protect themselves. Not with lies, but with social pressure. Greed didn't announce itself as greed. It disguised itself as wisdom. By 1636, tulip trading exploded. Taverns turned into exchanges. Auctions ran nightly. People who had never seen a tulip were selling contracts on them. No regulation, no margin requirements, no oversight. just trust and momentum. The Dutch economy wasn't built to stop this. In fact, it encouraged it. Credit was easy. Enforcement was weak. Everyone assumed prices would keep rising. Why wouldn't they? They always had. Until one winter morning in 1637, at a routine tulip auction, no one showed up. No buyers, no bids, no enthusiasm. Just silence. And silence is deadly in a market built on belief. Panic spread instantly. Buyers vanished. Contracts couldn't be sold. Prices collapsed not slowly, but overnight. Bulbs that sold for fortunes days earlier became nearly worthless. People tried to walk away from contracts. Others demanded payment. Disputes flooded the courts. The illusion shattered, and reality returned with a bill. Merchants were ruined. Craftsmen lost savings. Families watched paper wealth evaporate. And yet, the Dutch government largely stood aside. They softened penalties, allowed contracts to be settled for fractions of their value. No bailouts, no rescues. Why? Because bubbles don't look illegal until they collapse. Tulip Mania didn't destroy the Dutch economy. Trade continued, ships sailed, Amsterdam remained wealthy. But something irreversible had happened. People learned a terrifying lesson, that markets can go insane without breaking the law. They learned that prices can rise without reason and fall without mercy. And most importantly, they learned that the last buyer always pays for the dream. Those who sold early kept their fortunes. Those who arrived late kept the debt. And the pattern was born. Tulip Mania wasn't a historical accident. It was a prototype. The South Sea Bubble, the Mississippi Scheme, the Roaring Twenties, dot-com stocks, housing, crypto. Different centuries, different assets, same psychology. Hope, confidence, leverage, denial, and finally, collapse. Bubbles don't burst because people panic. They burst because reality eventually demands payment. Here's the uncomfortable truth. The tulip wasn't the madness. Human behavior was. The belief that prices rising means value exists. The belief that someone else will always pay more. The belief that you can exit just in time. Every bubble is powered by the same lie. This time is different. It never is. The tulip taught us something we keep forgetting, that markets don't reward intelligence forever. They reward timing until they punish belief. History doesn't repeat, but it rhymes. If this story changed how you see bubbles, money, and belief, subscribe to Time and Money Tales, because the most expensive lessons in history are the ones we refuse to learn again.